Oh my god, this is one of my favorite questions to answer. So my husband and I met on a dating site. This is my husband when I first started talking to him. Look how young he looks. Oh my god. He was only like 23, I think, when I first started talking to him. And this is me when we first started talking. I think I was about 27-ish, I think. So I can pretty much guarantee you that if you came up to my husband and I, like, before we actually really started talking a lot and shit, and you were like, hey, you're gonna get married in, like, 4 years, both of us would be like, yeah, fucking right. Because listen, this was both of our realities. My husband had just started getting sober, and he had actually enrolled in like a building construction technology program just to kind of like keep himself like in line and like give himself some direction. And after he finished this program, he was supposed to go off to like this advanced training program in Maine, and it was such a secluded program. I think you had to like fly a plane to get there. So he was in no place to start a long-term relationship. Then you had me, and I had kinda reserved myself to the fact that I would never settle down. Not because I didn't want to, but because I just didn't think it was gonna be a possibility for me. Honestly, like, my thoughts were I would probably never settle down. I would just, like, continue to date, like, nonchalantly, get to know people, have fun, but it wouldn't really get anywhere serious. And that's because my son, he has, it's not just that he's autistic, but he has various disabilities, and it can get hard sometimes. Anytime I would go out, like, on a date with somebody or start to get to know somebody, I would always tell them right up front. I didn't care if it was, like, ripping off a Band-Aid, if it was, like, too forward for them. I would say, listen, I have a son, and there is a good possibility that he is going to live with me for the rest of my life. And a lot of them would be like, oh, yeah, that's okay. Why would you ever think I wouldn't be okay with that? But then once they realize, like, 4 to 7 appointments a week, school, coordinating between, like, tons of therapists, doctors, specialists, my attention wasn't gonna be on them 24/7 because my son is always, my main focus. I just accepted that a lot of people can't accept that. So anyways, I shoot my shot with my husband, okay? I send him a DM, and I didn't expect it to go anywhere. I thought we might talk, hang out, whatever. But yeah, we started talking, we started FaceTiming. This is literally our first ever FaceTime, by the way. And I really liked him, but man, I was flighty. Because in the back of my mind, I'm like, I know this ain't gonna work out. It just can't. Given my, like, situation, it's not gonna work out. I ghosted on this dude, like, I'm not exaggerating, at least 15 times, at least. But I couldn't stay away. He tried to stay away from me a couple times, too, and he could not. Oh my god, you know what's so funny? I had just gotten top surgery like maybe a year or so before I started talking to my husband, so most of my pictures were shirtless. If there was an opportunity, I was gonna take it to be shirtless. I mean, has that changed? I'm still so thrilled with it. But anyways, because of this, his family, my in-laws, used to refer to me as the shirtless man before they met me. So my husband and I, when it came to like talking, we were on and off, on and off, on and off. We still hadn't met in person yet. And this is like years later, we still hadn't met in person. But the one time he stuck by me that meant the world to me is when I detransitioned. My liver ended up failing on testosterone and I had to discontinue. Well, I didn't have to, but it was like, okay, face liver failure or still like take testosterone. I chose to live. Anyways, this is one of, like, the hardest times of my life because I was just, like, terrified. Like, I was afraid all of my changes were gonna revert because, like, as you saw in other pictures, like, I had my beard grown out more. Like, I was consistently passing in public, and I was like, oh my god, everything is gonna revert. Everything I've been hoping for, been longing for is just gonna go away. And that was such a hard reality to face. And so I figured, you know what? I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off, and I'm just gonna start presenting feminine. That way I don't have to look in the mirror every day and just wait for it to happen, just wait for the changes to revert. I also figured, I'm going through a rough time and at least this way I'll get hassled in public less. And it's true because when I don't pass, like when I don't fill in my facial hair and stuff and I don't pass, not lately because I'm recognized from TikTok so people like leave me alone, but before that, like I did get hassled a lot. I figured I'll work on my gender dysphoria in therapy. Hopefully it works. Plot twist, it didn't. I only lasted a month and a half. But my husband ended up staying with me Well, it wasn't like that simple, really. I had ghosted on him because my husband, he likes dudes. I was like, there's no way he is gonna want to be with me looking like a chick. I mean, obviously, if he's gay, this isn't gonna be his cup of tea looking that feminine. But he reached out to me and he was like, hey, is the reason you stopped talking to me because you think that I'm not going to be attracted to you or I'm not going to want to pursue you because, you detransitioned? And I was like, well, yeah. And he's like, well, you're wrong. And so we kept talking. But even though I'm showing pictures of us together, we still hadn't met at this point yet. I love these pictures. It's kind of funny, actually, what happened next, okay? So my husband had this really important rule that he was not going to go official with me or say I love you until we met in person. And listen, that's really reasonable because when you meet people in person, energy can be a lot different. I've had that happen. And even though I knew he loved me, I understand that, like, he was, in that sense, a little bit old school. It's funny to say that because we're like a trans gay couple, but, and I respected it for a while. I ended up getting restless because I was like, listen, we have been talking for like 2 to 3 fucking years. There is probably no chance of us meeting in sight because he was going to go to advanced training, and we're still not Facebook official or anything. So then I fly off the handle, right? I'm like, the reason you don't want to go Facebook public is because you don't want all your other hoes to see. And then he was like, you know what, fine, I'm coming down there. I'm finding a way down there. It was like already 1 a.m. He's like, I'm gonna come down there, and when I come down there, the fighting stops. We're gonna be Facebook official. And then I start panicking because I'm the one who had hoes. No, I know you're not. I usually don't refer to any women as hoes, honestly, but this was a long time ago, and that is how it happened, so. And he really did. He really came down here. He drove like 3.5 hours. It was like, I think it was anywhere from like 2 to 3 a.m. or something, but it could have been later than that, or earlier, I should say. And the only place open was a McDonald's, aside from a bar, but like, he was trying to get sober, and I am sober, so. Now, keep in mind, during this time, this was when I detransitioned, so I was not a very happy person at the time. I mean, I was happy this night, but I struggled a lot, especially with anxiety during this time. I mean, I barely left my house. I had a community service worker that would take me out grocery shopping and stuff because I could barely do anything on my own. I'm so lucky I had my family to help me at the time because I don't know what I would have done. So I was so scared to meet him here, and I told him beforehand, I'm like, listen, I am so scared. Like, I might not be able to leave the car. I might have to, run out. I don't know how this is gonna go. I even did a test drive to the McDonald's, an hour before he showed up, and then I drove back home because my house was, really close, just so I could, prepare or something, I don't know. But when I saw him, I could not stop talking to him. We got along so well, that the person whose car he borrowed to get here was banging on the window like, hey, come on, we gotta go. Another favorite story, that I have about my husband when we first met, is that, like I said, when I detransitioned, I was not happy. I was having a really hard time. I was really struggling with it. It definitely, even though it was a happy time to meet my husband, it did put a strain on the relationship that we don't have now because I was just, it was just a very hard time. I didn't feel comfortable in my skin. I was nervous all the time. It was just awful. Well, one day, I literally, we were having a fight about something, which was a valid fight, but I just, broke down in the car he was driving me around in. I just lost it. I lost my shit. My son was not with me, by the way, if anyone's, gonna nitpick that. He was with his dad at the time. It was a weekend. I could only see my husband on weekends because he had training during the week. Anyways, my husband, he just knew. He's like, are you thinking about transitioning back? And I was just like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. He drove me to Walmart because I had turned all my men's clothes into, girl clothes, when I detransitioned. And he bought me, clippers so I could shave my head. He bought me boxers, new shirts, everything. So sweet. But yeah, he ended up not actually being able to go to advanced training. He graduated his program, though. He did. And we've both stayed sober. And, so for so long, I feel like I acted like I had to find someone who would tolerate my life. But my husband, he embraces it.